It's time for the market prep video here on Stoncast. Folks, I don't know if we've had a more jam-packed episode than we're laying out today. We had some historic news that dropped just yesterday with the U.S. bombing Iran's nuclear sites. We will cover all of it, and also the macro fallout that could come. Also, we got some key earnings this week, Robotaxi launch for Tesla, and some key economic data that you need to be paying attention to. And also, we will tease another interview we're doing with a high-level trader this week. Stick around for all that and much more. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, let's get into it. Welcome back to Stoncast, the market show for the average Joe. Whether you're a diamond-handed degenerate looking for the next 500% play or a more conservative swing trader or investor, we've got you covered. We tackle the latest market news, give our 2 cents, and maybe, just maybe, help you make some money along the way. I'm your host, as always, Brandon Shar. Welcome back. Folks, we have had a crazy weekend. We have some historic updates to get into here. The U.S. is entering the battlefield between Iran and Israel. So let's hop right into it. So first of all, I want to highlight this article here from CNBC. U.S. enters war between Israel and Iran. We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan, President Donald Trump said Saturday. The nuclear facilities were hit with massive bombs delivered from B-2 stealth bombers. U.S. Navy submarines also joined the attack, launching more than 30 Tomahawk missiles into Iran. Trump's decision to join Israel's war against Iran sharply escalates the conflict and appears to push any diplomatic solution out of reach. President Donald Trump on Saturday said the United States had attacked Iranian nuclear sites, pushing America into Israel's war with its longtime rival and regional power. Quote, a short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan, Trump said in a speech from the White House. U.S. Navy submarines launched those missiles. This is massive news. We know that President Trump had given Iran a 2-week window for talks, essentially. We know that Iran had continued to launch attacks at Israel, and we also know that President Trump has been in the Situation Room and trying to, decide what would be the best course of action. And this is what we got this weekend. I kind of suspected heading into the weekend we might see some action. I didn't think it would come this soon, but we got it here. So the president initially announced the strikes on social media Saturday, where he wrote that, quote, a full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo. It was unclear late Saturday precisely how much damage the U.S. strikes had done to the heavily fortified Iranian nuclear sites or whether any American military assets were still active in the country. Earlier in the day, several U.S. Air Force B-2 stealth bombers reportedly left Missouri, heading west over the Pacific Ocean. The massive planes are some of the only U.S. aircraft capable of carrying the GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator, MOP, a 30,000-pound bomb known as the Bunker Buster. The Bunker Buster bombs are widely viewed as the only conventional non-nuclear weapons capable of inflicting serious damage on the Fordo nuclear facility, which is built inside the side of a mountain. So massive update here that we got. And really, look, I'm not going to get political on this show. It's fair to say that 50-50, right? People are going to lean one way or another, thinking this was the right move, the wrong move. We're not going to get into that. This is a market show, a stock trading show. What we want to know is, how does this news actually impact the market, right? And so it's the weekend. At time of recording, the futures markets are not opened yet, but there are a couple of tools that you can use to get an idea of where we might see the futures markets open this evening, and also where we might see the stock market open tomorrow at the cash open. So one thing I want to highlight here is IG.com. This is basically a spot where people can make their bets on the market over the weekend when technically, the futures market is closed and obviously the stock market is closed. So this is the weekend US Tech 100. Again, the website IG.com. And this is essentially laying out the NASDAQ, right? And so over the weekend, as of right now, it is down almost 1.5%, 1.35%. So obviously it is taking a hit and kind of hinting at the NASDAQ opening lower, obviously. And then one other thing you can also look at is the crypto space, which never sleeps, right? So we can take a look at Bitcoin, for example, which is getting obliterated right now, folks. As of right now, time of recording here, Sunday afternoon, Bitcoin is down over 2% and below the psychological level of 100,000. So obviously, this would be, I would argue, another good signal as to where we could see the markets opening up. Again, the futures market this evening, of course, but tomorrow at the cash open to kick off a new week here in June. So as of right now, it is looking like a bloodbath, folks, not to put it too lightly. And it makes sense. There's a lot of implications of the U.S. getting into this battle between Iran and Israel. And actually, I did read this is the first attack by the U.S. on Iran ever. So that is interesting. There's a lot of speculation and also not so much speculation about Iran, how it's a state that, funds terrorism. And so there's always been some kind of tension, of course, between the U.S. and Iran. And now that the U.S. has actually entered into this affair, this could have massive implications for the Middle East. And really, we're going to get into that here in a second, of some of the things that you need to be paying attention to heading into this week in light of this historic moment in time with, again, the U.S. bombing Iran. So as of right now, Bitcoin is down massively and not looking good if you are a bull. So another article here from CNBC as far as Iran's response, because here's the thing. Trump, when he put out his truth post last night, essentially was saying now's the time for peace. Iran can now decide whether or not they want peace or not. And it doesn't appear that Iran is just going to fold here. So again, according to CNBC, Iran says it reserves all options after outrageous U.S. strikes launches fresh attacks on Israel. Not good. Iran on Sunday slammed the U.S. attacks on 3 major nuclear enrichment facilities in the country. Tehran also launched its 20th wave of missile and drone strikes against Israeli military targets, according to Iran's state-owned media Fars. Iran's response comes after the U.S. conducted a direct military attack on Iran for the first time. So Iran, of course, not happy at all about the U.S.'s involvement into this affair, and this is really just going to create a lot of uncertainty and turmoil in the Middle East. So there is a ton of unknowns as of right now. So this is massive news that, of course, we will continue to bring to the show, continue to update you as this historic event continues to unfold. But as of right now, it does not appear that Iran is going to back down. And President Trump last night did say that if Iran does not back down, we will continue to push the cause. And so as of right now, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a short-term resolution to this situation, unfortunately. So with that being said, let's turn to the overall market, right? What are some tickers? What are some stocks or ETFs, some volatility plays, things that we need to be paying attention to this week in the market to capitalize on this situation and, of course, try to turn a profit. So first thing that I want to look at here is going to be oil, because right now Iran is one of the major distributors, exporters of crude oil. And so that is going to be on the forefront And as of right now, if we take a look at USO, the United States Oil ETF, we already saw last week a big jump when this initial conflict between Israel and Iran was taking off. We saw a spike from 74 up to about 80, which we covered last week. And as of Friday's close, it was sitting at 83 with, a high, a 52-week high of 84.58. I would fully expect, in light of this scenario, for the USO, the United States Oil ETF, tomorrow on Monday to open up above that 52-week high. I think we're going to get a massive spike in oil due to, again, this situation that is developing. I would expect a $3 to $5 barrel pop on open tomorrow, possibly reaching $90 if Iran continues to further escalate things, which as of right now, it appears that they are doing that. So you can also look at oil futures as well. That's going to be something else that you can be paying attention to. But USO is going to be what I'm watching in particular. Again, United States Oil ETF. And all indications seem to be that we're going to get a new 52-week high on this. And if we just kind of zoom out, right, to see where this thing could potentially go, if we look at a 5-year weekly chart on USO, the 5-year high is 92.20, and I would not be shocked at all in light of this development, again, to see us break above that. I'm fully expecting USO to reach at least 90 and would be looking for a pop on that. Obviously, we have massive volume this past week showing the conviction from traders as to the rising escalation in the Middle East and how that may impact, again, crude oil. So another thing you can look at as well would be XLE, right? So this is going to be the energy sector of the spiders, right? The S&P 500 and the energy sector in particular on Friday closed just above 1%, while the rest of the market was kind of mixed. This is going to be another sector to be paying attention to, as this will be impacted by the risk, again, of energy costs going up due to this Iran-Israel conflict. So I would definitely be paying attention to that. Also, shale producers and LNG exporters, right? So a couple of those that you can be keeping an eye on. Pioneer Natural Resources, ticker symbol PXD. If we just take a look at the 5-year weekly chart on that, this past week it did close at 269, well above the 20, 50, and 200-day moving averages with a 5-year high of 288. I would expect this thing to continue to pop, at least on the 5-year weekly chart. This looks like a bull flag setting up here. I would expect a pop on this one as well. Another symbol that you could be looking at is CLR, Continental Resources. This would continue to get pushed up as well in that space. And then lastly, I would look at LNG, Cheniere Energy Inc. This will also be impacted, I would imagine, as well, as Middle East supply tightens due to the ongoing feud between Iran, Israel, and now the U.S. Another space to be paying attention to would be defense and military tech rally, right? So defense and military spending are probably going to go up. The Pentagon backing, right? So U.S. use of bunker busters and stealth bombers signals higher defense budgets ahead, I would imagine. So a couple things you could be looking at here. KTOS. We talked about this in the interview with Kevin, aka the Market Bishop, from last weekend. Amazing interview with a seasoned trader. If you haven't seen it already, make sure to check it out. But KTOS continues to soar high, all-time highs, in fact, and currently sitting at $43 as of Friday's close. This thing is continuing to rocket up, and I would imagine it's going to continue to do that in light of this conflict escalating. Another thing would be RTX Corp. This thing, again, 5-year high on this one as well. I would expect this to continue to rally up. These are things you want to be paying attention to. LMT, Lockheed Martin. This one, technically speaking, if we're looking at the 5-year weekly chart, is kind of consolidating right now after the high it had of 618 back in let's see, when was this? This was October of 2024. But this could also see a pop as we see the U.S. enter this escalation between Iran and Israel. Electronic warfare and cybersecurity is going to be another space you want to pay attention to. Ticker symbol there could be LHX. L3 Harris Technologies looking pretty good on the chart there. Could get some action. So these are just a few of the defense and military space, some of the tickers that you want to be paying attention to if you are an active trader. Now, as far as safe haven finds during this, what seems to be a soon to be bearish open on Monday, investors are going to flee to, US dollar, gold potentially, and bonds, right? So you can obviously look at gold, which has been crushing it. That would be something you could look into. Also gold futures. And then as far as bonds go, I like TLT, the iShares 20-year Treasury bond ETF. This thing has been pretty flat and trending downward, but with this new development, this could be a safe haven where money starts to flow into this due to the risk-off environment we seem to be going into. And then volatility gauge, of course, the VIX is likely to spike, signaling critical hedge zones. So the VIX on Friday, this thing closed above 20. I would fully expect, especially where Bitcoin is at right now, to see a big jump in the VIX. Now, keep in mind, we talked about this with Kevin on the interview last week. The VIX, when we initially found out about Israel-Iran, the conflict there, did not have as massive of a spike as one would expect compared to, some of the tariff news that we got back in April when the VIX spiked to 60. Now that the U.S. has entered into this conflict, I would venture to say that we will see a larger spike in the VIX. So I would definitely be paying attention to the VIX if you're looking for any type of hedge against some of the more risk-on plays that people might be in right now that are more than likely going to go down or tank due to this new development, right? And then as far as things that are going to get waxed in light of this situation, I would venture to say there's going to be a ton of pressure on tech and airlines. I mean, we just looked at IG.com with the NASDAQ over the weekend, and based off that, almost down 1.5% on the NASDAQ 100. So tech is going to get hit here, and also airlines are going to get hit. So some things to be paying attention to, maybe on the put side, or if you want to short it in general with shares, Delta Airlines. Delta Airlines is currently trending down on the 5-year weekly chart, ran into some resistance at that 50-day moving average, currently sitting at 47 right now. We had a low of 35 back in April when the tariff announcement came out. So I'd be paying attention to Delta. I would be paying attention to American Airlines Group, also falling off right now. I would also be paying attention to Southwest Airlines. These are just a few of the names that could face downward pressure due to Middle East airspace uncertainty, right? So those are some of the big names that I would be paying attention to. Definitely worth having on your radar as we continue to see what's going to happen between the U.S. and Iran. And we'll definitely be keeping you posted on that. Let's transition into the big news for Tesla this weekend. So we have the Robotaxi launch that actually came out today officially. So this has been kind of long overdue. We've had some delays on the Robotaxi launch for Tesla, and it officially opened up this weekend in Austin, Texas. Found this article from Reuters. Texas enacts Robotaxi rules on the eve of Tesla's Austin rollout. So Republican governor signs bill regulating autonomous vehicles. Law doesn't take effect until September. Tesla plans Robotaxi rollout this weekend, but warned a possible delay, softening its anti-regulatory stance. Texas requires state approval and allows for revocation. So basically the governor signed some legislation requiring state permit to operate self-driving vehicles just before Tesla's planned launch of a Robotaxi trial on Sunday in Austin. The law does not take effect again until September 1st, but this is interesting news as it relates to Robotaxi. So that event is ongoing as we speak. It is I consider it kind of a soft launch. People might think of Robotaxi launch as, hey, we're full-fledged, we're ready to go here. That's not really the case. According to this article here from kview.com, Tesla's Robotaxi launch in Austin with safety drivers in passenger seats. So it's not entirely autonomous, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Instead of a full launch with no one in the vehicle, Tesla will operate a limited service with employees on board due to safety concerns. Tesla's much-hyped Robotaxi service launched in Austin on Sunday, but with Tesla employees in the passenger seat due to safety concerns. Safety drivers will be on board the Model Y cars with the ability to steer or stop the vehicles if needed. Rides will also reportedly be limited to 6 a.m. to midnight and operate within a restricted area of downtown Austin in order to avoid complex and difficult intersections. So this is, I just feel like there's been a lot of hype on Robotaxi, and it just feels very, very limited. I think people should kind of reserve some of their excitement. It is a step in the right direction. We know that Dan Ives is a major bull on Tesla, has come out and said that this piece of the business alone is $1 trillion business. That could very well be in the long run, but in the very, very short term right now, I just would be very cautious if I was a bull hopping into this. I can definitely see this as a sell the news kind of event come Monday, unless something insanely positive happens this weekend as it relates to the Robotaxi launch. But think of it this way, even if you have some kind of minor setback, that could be enough to push the stock down on the open on Monday. So as far as how many vehicles they're going to have, that's another thing too, is this article says the Tesla fleet will start out small and be open only to invited passengers using an app. In an interview with CNBC in May, CEO Elon Musk said the Austin Robotaxi service will start with around 10 vehicles before expanding to thousands of vehicles should the launch go smoothly. It's all, predicated upon whether or not it runs smoothly, of course, but they're starting out with 10, so not that big. Musk said Tesla will bring its Robotaxi to LA and San Francisco after the Austin debut. So that's what we got on that. And if we just take a look at the chart for Tesla right now, as of Friday's close, we were sitting at 322.16. I, for one, personally am a bit biased here as it relates to this event. I did take some puts on Tesla on Friday. My reasoning for that, very simple. First of all, if you look at the Fibonacci retracement on a one-year chart for Tesla, basically the 50% retracement level is right around 332, right? So 332 is a 50% retracement from the 52-week low to the 52-week high. And why that's important is because 50% is typically a psychological level when it comes to Fibonacci retracements. If you don't know about Fibonacci retracements, definitely watch some videos, read up on them. They are very, very useful tools when it comes to technical analysis and trading. But the reason I'm bearish on Tesla is the fact that we have tapped that 332 level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times and failed, right? 6 rejections at that level. So that, first of all, is not great. It's showing a pretty strong resistance level that's being built up there. In addition to that, again, I think this is a buy the rumor, sell the news, the old adage in the stock market. I think that, we have seen Tesla get bought up since the tariff announcement back in April. And I think part of that, of course, is due to the pause on tariffs, but also I think it was buying the rumor on this Robotaxi launch that has been pending. And I could very well see this be a sell the news environment this week, especially if we get any hint of negativity around how the launch went this weekend. And then lastly, the reason I bought puts is because of the geopolitical tensions, which was confirmed yesterday when now we have a new development with the U.S. entering this fight between Iran and Israel. That is a major macro development. And so Tesla could have a great Robotaxi weekend, but given how things are most likely going to open tomorrow, down a lot because we bombed Iran, that is going to weigh heavily on Tesla. Keep in mind, Tesla is a high beta stock. So what that means is if the market moves 1%, the beta on Tesla, I think, is like 5. So if the market moves 1%, Tesla moves 5%. It's going to move, fivefold what the market does. It's a volatile company. It's a volatile stock. And so if the market opens lower, you can expect Tesla to open even lower. I think that's a safe bet. So that's what we got going on with Tesla. Look, I could be wrong tomorrow. We could have some stellar reports from the Robotaxi event. We could have the futures open lower, but then a new development comes out and, we recover our weekend losses from the U.S. bombing Iran news. But as of right now, I think there's a higher probability that we're going to be opening much, much lower tomorrow. And I think that will definitely weigh on Tesla as a company. So let's head on into the economic calendar and take a look at what we got coming up this week. We are in a headline-driven environment. I've said that before. I'll say it again. And so let's take a look at what we got going on this week in the U.S. We do have on Monday at 9:45 a.m. Eastern, the S&P Global Manufacturing PMI coming out. That tends to be a more volatile economic report, so keep your eyes on that. We have the S&P Global Services PMI at 9:45 Eastern as well. At 10 a.m., we get existing home sales coming out. We had a previous of 4 million with a forecast of 3.96 million, so a slight downtick expected there. We do have a couple Fed speakers, nothing too crazy there. On Tuesday, we got some interesting things coming out at 10 a.m. Eastern. The CB Consumer Confidence Report, so whether or not consumers feel confident right now in the economy, that's going to be an important reading. Previous of 98, and the forecast is 99.1, so slight uptick expected there. So if that goes down, that could weigh on the stock market early on Tuesday, again, 10 a.m. Eastern. Also keep in mind at 10 a.m. we get the Fed Chair, Jerome Powell, who will be testifying on the current status of basically monetary policy and where he sees the economy. And I think he is also going to be testifying as well on Wednesday, I believe. So back-to-back days of Jerome Powell testifying. So that could be very, very volatile for the market, depending upon what comes out of that. On Wednesday, you get new home sales coming out as well. Crude oil inventories at 10:30 a.m. That is going to be a major, major report, in my opinion, in light, again, of this conflict in Iran. Definitely want to be paying attention to that if you are a short-term trader. On Thursday, June 26th, we get GDP quarter over quarter for Q1, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. That's going to be a volatile report. Initial jobless claims at 8:30 as well. And then we get a doozy on Friday, folks. We're going to get the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, PCE, personal consumption expenditure. So it's basically a reading that's going to show the cost of goods for consumers minus food and energy. We're going to get a great look at what inflation is looking like. And so the previous for the core PCE for year over year for May was 2.5%. Is that going to come in hotter than expected? Is that going to come in softer? You're definitely going to be wanting to pay attention to that. That's going to come out before the bell on Friday, June 27th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. That's going to be a massive indicator for the Fed on what direction they go as far as the Fed rate, when they're going to lower it. We talked about it last week after Jerome Powell's Fed rate decision, keeping things the same. It appears at this point we're expecting 2 rate cuts this year, with the first one likely to happen in September, but all of that can change just like that in light of this new conflict between Iran and Israel, the U.S. entering that, and if we get some hard data like PCE that comes in a little hot. So that is your economic calendar for the week ahead, things to be paying attention to. Let's highlight some earnings to be keeping tabs on this week. We're not really in earnings season per se right now, but there are a couple earnings coming out this week. First of all, on Monday, Commercial Metals, ticker symbol CMC. This is a steel producer, so you want to watch tariff impact for sector trade angles potentially. Also, another one to keep tabs on that's reporting on Monday is KB Homes, ticker symbol KBH. in the housing sector. Relevant given slow May construction data that we got. Tuesday, we're going to get some discretionary insights with Carnival, which will be reporting travel, tourism exposure here, and geopolitics and fuel costs could influence the sentiment here big time. So even if they report good earnings in light of the geopolitical conflicts going on right now, this could get impacted. Also, we're going to get a reading from FedEx, another notable one. And for my degenerates out there that want to be paying attention to meme-related tickers, you're going to have BlackBerry also reporting earnings on Tuesday as well. Wednesday, we get a doozy with Micron Technology. So this thing has been on a tear since the April lows of 61. Has gone up twofold, currently trading at $123. A major semiconductor name reporting Q3 after the bell. Analysts expect 30% year-over-year revenue growth and earnings per share of about $1.61, it looks like. So, this dovetails with broader AI-driven chip demand, so definitely want to be paying attention to that. Nike on Thursday is another one to be paying attention to, and they could definitely be feeling some of the pain from tariff pressures, and we want to keep tabs on footwear inventory issues that may be looming in light of tariffs. So not a whole lot, not a ton of sexy names coming out this week, but that's what we got as far as earnings for the week ahead. So a ton of news, ton of things going on right now. We're in a headline-driven environment. I fully expect some more news to drop related to the geopolitical tensions, especially with Iran now retaliating against Israel in light of the U.S. bombing on their nuclear facilities. And then, because of that, I would definitely expect the U.S. to respond. So it's going to be a very, very interesting week, to say the least. Keep in mind, we have another interview coming up with a seasoned trader. I will be doing it on Thursday, probably around 6 p.m., something like that. I'll make sure to put out a post about it on YouTube, so you can tune in live if you want. And then, of course, I'll be putting up the full edited video later on in the week. But very, very excited to talk to a seasoned trader. His name is Tom, and he is very knowledgeable about just overall macro events going on, especially as it relates to FOMC, as we had the Fed rate decision last week. I definitely plan on asking him some questions around that and trying to get his insight as to where the Fed might be headed, right? So we got that going on. Keep in mind, I will be back as always Thursday morning, 8 a.m. sharp for the midweek check-in. We're going to have a lot to unpack. I expect a lot to happen over the next few days, so that will also be a jam-packed episode. It's weird, right? Usually the summer is a quiet time in the market. That is definitely not the case this year, folks. So a lot to be paying attention to. Make sure to stay diligent. Make sure to share this with a friend. Drop a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are on the geopolitical tensions. What are some tickers you're paying attention to? What are some things you're trading? How do you think Tesla's going to fare this week with the Robotaxi launch? Would love to get your thoughts and opinions on that. Thanks as always for the support. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow wherever you listen to podcasts. And folks, as always, remember, plan the trade and trade the plan. Have a good one.